Hey guys, so today we're talking about time lapses with the GoPro Hero 7 because I recently found out that the GoPro Hero 7 is actually a great time-lapse camera, especially for beginners, because it makes it very easy, both the shooting and also the editing. Yeah, so in this video I want to show you why it makes it so easy and why it's actually good for time lapses, and of course also how you do it.
Ya, banyak ya ini pemandangannya bagus, good.
Bagus, yeah,
Yeah.
bagus. Okay, I have to record.
Yeah.
And if you're new to this channel, my name is Pascal and I teach you travel videography here, so I publish one video every Sunday. So if you're interested in that, then don't forget to hit subscribe and the notifications button right now to don't miss out my other videos. And of course also feel free to leave comments so that I can help you improve your videos even more. But back to topic. So the GoPro Hero 7, I was actually in Sicily 2 months ago around, and I wanted to shoot a day-to-night time lapse with my normal Panasonic GH5 camera. So I set everything up and I was shooting it. Then I also thought, well, why not get another angle as well and set up the GoPro for a time lapse, because I saw some videos that some guys use it for that. So I wanted to try that out. And yeah, then I had these 2 time lapses later. One was my Panasonic GH5, one was the GoPro. And I must actually say that setting up the GoPro and also editing the GoPro was so easy, because simply when you have something like a day-to-night time lapse where you have to shoot in automatic mode, in automatic exposure mode, then you usually get flicker in your camera. So on the GH5 I had to reduce the flicker using some plugins, and for the GoPro I recognized that there was no flicker at all. And also setting it up, I just set it to auto and I did some other settings that I will come to later, and it just worked. Like, it really made it so easy. So I would actually say that if you want to start out with time lapses, then the GoPro Hero 7 is actually a great camera. So how did I do it? How did I set the GoPro up to shoot a day-to-night time lapse? Of course, there are different types of time lapses. So the first thing that you want to do is swipe from the left to right to get into time lapse mode from video. And then there is this button on the left that you can press, and there you can choose different time-lapse mode. Like there's time warp video, there's time-lapse video, there's time-lapse photo, there's night-lapse photo. So for day to night, I chose night-lapse because it gave me more options to expose properly for the night, or to give the camera more options. So in that case, when I chose night-lapse, then I pressed the menu. That's actually nice because you can get something like raw photos. I wouldn't say it's real raw like you get from other cameras. Hello. I wouldn't say it's real raw like you get from other cameras. It's a little bit compressed, so you lose a bit of quality there, but the quality is still good and absolutely usable. And yeah, so what I did then, of course I set RAW on, like mentioned before, then shutter to auto. I set the interval to 15 seconds. And interval 15 seconds is important because it gave it more flexibility to shoot at night, because in the night it's dark, so it has to raise the shutter, to lower the shutter speed actually. And by choosing an interval of 15 seconds, it can theoretically set the shutter speed of up to 15 seconds long, which just gives it a long exposure time, so it can capture a lot of light, and then you get very good shots even in the dark. And yeah, apart from that, FOV to wide, Pro Tune on, ISO minimum 100, ISO maximum 400. White balance I set it to native, because, well, then I can do a bit more color grading later in post. Sharpness to medium and color to flat. So that were like for the day to night time lapse that you see here right now. I really love it. It's a great one, and I was actually quite surprised what the GoPro does there. But of course there are also other time lapse mode, and if you want to shoot a steady time lapse, then you always want to make sure that you set it either to time lapse photo or night lapse photo, simply because photos have more quality than videos. So if I would set it now to time warp video or time lapse video, I would automatically lose some quality, simply because it's not the GoPro RAW that you get there. As long as you don't really need video because you're walking around or whatever, then I would strongly suggest to use time lapse photo or night lapse photo if you make day to night, or if you shoot in the night, obviously. And after you set everything up, then you just put your camera somewhere, you press the record button, and then it starts doing the time lapse. And especially when you do a day to night time lapse, what I did here right now, then you want to do it a bit longer. Like I actually did it for around 2.5 hours, which gave me around 600 photos. And yeah, of course, that's usually a lot of post-production. Like I also had 600 photos with my Panasonic GH5. Like mentioned before, I had to remove the flicker there. And there it's really where the GoPro shines, because the GoPro seems to have an algorithm or anything like that, that that sees the differences in exposure and it compensates for that automatically. So you don't get any flicker in the GoPro Hero 7 when you shoot time lapses in, for example, night time lapse mode. And that's great because it makes it so much easier in post-production. So what I did in post-production, I used at first the Adobe DNG converter. This is a tool that takes these raw photos from the GoPro and converts it to Cinema DNG, because Cinema DNG is a format that can be used by video editors like Final Cut, Adobe Premiere and DaVinci Resolve. So that makes it very easy, because what I did after converting it to Cinema DNG, I just dragged all the clips in my timeline in Final Cut, and then I pressed Ctrl D, and after that I pressed 1. What this does is simply that it sets every single image to a length of 1 frame. So if I'm on a 24p timeline, then you have 24 images per second, and that's what I wanted to have there. And what you will recognize then is if you hit the play button, or if you just scroll around, if you try to do some color grading or whatever, you will see that it's actually lagging as fuck. So what you want to do is you want to export it as ProRes 444, or if you're on Windows, then you want to use DNxHR. You want to export it to DNxHR and in the highest quality settings possible, because that preserves most of the raw functionality that you still have there, so you can color grade it like crazy later. Like, it's pretty similar actually to raw photos. Yeah, and after exporting that, you can just delete all the images from your timeline, and then you drag your video into your timeline and you can do color grading and whatever you want with a clip. And that's great, because from that point you can still do a lot of color grading and so on. Of course, if you lift the shadows too much, then you will get some like artifacts or noise. This is what I mean. It's not like 100% perfect raw like you get it from other cameras. It's a bit compressed, but the quality is still nice. And especially if you have a plugin like Neat Video that is for noise reduction, and you can actually resolve a lot of those issues very easily. So yeah, I mean, this is actually a very easy workflow. Of course, you have to download the Adobe DNG converter, but it's for free, so it's not a problem, I would say. But apart from that, you don't have to do that much anymore. You just have to get these images into a video format, and that's it. After that, you can just play around with it and do whatever you want. So as a comparison with the Panasonic GH5, I have a pretty similar process. I also converted first to DNG, and then I drag it into the Final Cut timeline and so on. But I also don't want to spend so much money for a flicker reducing plugin in Final Cut, because there's clearly flicker in there. So what I did is simply I got another plugin for around $30. It's not a plugin actually, it's an app. So I had to export the video file at first, and then I had to drag the video file into that app. It's called Time-Lapse Deflicker. Then it deflickers the time-lapse. I have to export it again, and then I have to drag it into Final Cut again. So it's like one step more that actually takes a lot of time, and so the GoPro makes it a lot easier. So yeah, if you want to start out with time-lapse, then definitely try out the GoPro Hero 7. It's a great camera for that. It can give you some really nice results. Try it out on your next holiday. That really makes your travel videos more interesting. And I would also like to know about you. Did you already try out the time-lapse function with the GoPro Hero 7, or did you try time-lapses in general, maybe with other cameras, and how do you handle that? What's your process? And maybe if you tried out my process that I showed you here, how does it work for you? It would be interesting to know, and also feel free to leave me some comments about topics that you want to have covered in the future, because that helps me a lot to come up with other ideas for more tutorials to help you make better videos. I hope you liked that video, and if yes, then please hit the thumbs up button, and of course also don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials in the future. So see ya!